Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Brian Kelly met with the media back on Saturday after LSU's final scrimmage pre-spring game, and had a few interesting things to say, and I want to focus on a lot of the talk around the running backs and the running game. We understand that LSU was in a situation back in fall camp of 2023 where they had 8 scholarship running backs, and now you're sitting there and the numbers are critically low. So you go through a spring and you've just got Josh Williams and Kaleb Jackson handling everything. Trey Holly is away from the team, been suspended with that legal situation. We've had a change in the charges where the second-degree murder charge has been dropped, but there's some felonies that have been attached to Trey Holly, and we'll just have to see how that shakes out in court, and Brian Kelly spoke to that as well. But right now you've got 2 scholarship running backs, and Brian Kelly spoke about how that's worked in the spring.
It's work volume. You can't run those guys into the ground and have a really good practice, because at the end of the practice, you're doing, a lot of teamwork. And if you're running those guys into the ground, you really can't have the kind of reps that you're looking for. So, we brought in 3 walk-ons who have done a great job. I mean, really have allowed us to practice at a level where they can step in, and whether it's 7-on-7 or it's a half-line pass or a half-line run, have allowed those guys to take a break. So without those guys in particular, we would not be in a really good position in the spring. So we got saved by the bell in terms of the walk-ons at the running back position.
Kelly mentioned that he was actually at a coaching clinic when he found out that Holly's charges had been dropped, and then there had been more development on the legal front there. And so he spoke to kind of how they're going to handle Trey Holly's eligibility at this point.
We advocated for him to continue his schooling, and we were happy that he was able to continue his schooling here as an online student. So he's maintained his eligibility because of that. So we'll be, obviously monitoring and making sure that, I think they're talking about, sometime in the middle of April that we could see a full resolution to this. At that time, we'll begin the process in assisting him for reinstatement, and we'll advocate for him on his behalf and welcome him back.
So that's a pretty optimistic picture of where things stand. From the first perspective, it's time. It's like, okay, how long is this going to take? Because obviously it's a very, very serious issue. We've had loss of life here in Northeast Louisiana, and that can at times take a long time to get a resolution from. But it sounds like they think in the next couple of weeks there will be some resolution. So that's not something I expected to hear, and I don't know enough details about the case to speak really any further on that, just to say that I'm surprised personally to hear Brian Kelly say that there could be some resolution here in the next couple of weeks. But to move to the football field, where LSU is trying to work on getting a run game implemented, I think this is a pretty important spring for Joe Sloan and this offense to figure out how they're going to change things from running the ball. We've talked about it a ton over the last 6 weeks because you understand that the quarterback run game is going to change significantly, and that the offensive line should be a real strength of the team. So you've got to figure out how to run the football a little bit differently than you did last year. And Brian Kelly spoke to the run game development to this point in this spring.
We have to be centered more with tailback runs, making up for the loss of a Daniels who picked up quite a bit of yardage for us. We've really focused on those runs, and I'm really pleased with the development of the run game in the spring. We can see it, and we've got a talented offensive line. We're letting them really see some new things and do some things that we haven't done over the last couple of years, and it's quite exciting.
I have lamented the talent level in LSU's running back room over the last couple of seasons. Just calling it like I see it. I watched for my entire football viewing life LSU churn through NFL running backs from the state of Louisiana. You can go on the list. It's really easy to run through. But it's guys that look like Leonard Fournette and Darius Geis and Jeremy Hill. It's guys that look like Kevin Falk, Dominic Davis, and LeBrandon Toefield. Like guys that were pros. And I don't know that I've seen a ton of that the last couple of years. But I think I see it in Kaleb Jackson. Every time he touches the football, I find myself going, oh. And I just am not, well, I think I know why he didn't touch it as much last year, because they really trust older players. Brian Kelly trusts older players to play. But the talent level is undeniable. I mean, I thought he was brilliant in the bowl game. He got 2 touches. One was a touchdown. And I see that combination of size and power and speed, and I'm like, get that dude the ball. And I feel like this spring, because there are so few running backs, only 2 scholarship running backs out there, that this is going to be a really good time for his development and to gain trust from the staff. Because if they don't trust him, Josh Williams is going to get far and away the most carries of this team. He may anyway. But if I know they trust Josh Williams. The question is, how much do they trust Kaleb Jackson, and how much development has gone on over the last 6 weeks?
You know, what we've been balancing here is his workload. As you guys know, we have 2 scholarship backs in spring ball. And we want to be careful with Williams because he's a guy that is so important to us, and we don't want, to put him in any compromising situation. So he's a big back. He's growing into his body. So the workload capacity and the fatigue has really taught him how to take care of himself. He's understanding how to eat better, how to hydrate, how to recover. And those are great things, right? I mean, because he cares so much, we'll catch him up on blitz protections and things of that nature. This is how he takes care of his body. So that's where we're at with him. That's the chapter that he's going through. And I'm fine with it because he's learning so much about himself right now.
I hope they can get that guy to the field in a hurry. Just the talent level, it's impressive. I mean, y'all saw the highlight plays last year, the play around left end against Mississippi State where he just trucks a guy. He got up to full speed a couple times on kickoff returns, one down the left sideline in a home game. I mean, he's got the tools, and I just would really like him to be more involved than he was last year in this LSU running game. There's question mark there. There's not with Josh Williams. There's not with your 2 tackles. There's not with your 2 guards. You know what those guys are. The only piece to this that's got to be resolved is the center position. And by all accounts, DJ Chester's had a pretty dadgum good spring, and Brian Kelly spoke to the guy that's taking over for Charles Turner.
What we were looking for at that position, and we knew that we were going to be inserting a younger player with veterans, was somebody that was mature and handled himself in that manner. He is all business. He handles himself in a very professional manner. He takes care of business off the field. If he's walking around here and he's interacting, you'd think he's a junior or senior. His demeanor is a lot different than a young player. And we needed to vet that out in the recruiting process, because if we were going to handle it that way or hand it over to him, we needed somebody. And that's what I look for in the center position.
That's encouraging to hear, because he's stepping into a really mature group. I mean, Will Campbell has played a lot of football. Emory Jones played a lot of football. Miles Frazier's in his 5th year of college football. He's played a lot. Garrett Dillinger's played a lot of football. And then Garrett Nussmeier, although he hasn't played as much, he's been around. He's been around a long time. So is Josh Williams. So you're walking into a group that's really old. And I think to hear that he is adjusted to that quite easily is a very, very encouraging thing. I don't know how much they're going to put on his plate from a protection standpoint, from an alignment standpoint. Like, when you're talking about guys as old and experienced and good as the other 4 offensive linemen, I don't know if you can divvy those responsibilities up or how much it goes into the situation. But I think that's an encouraging deal, because if DJ Chester is really good, then that offensive line is going to be really good. And if that offensive line is really good, it just makes things really easy on the rest of the crew. Hopefully that's a little bit of Kaleb Jackson as well. But that's kind of a look at where they are from a run game perspective. We'll hear some more from Wilson Alexander coming up at the bottom of hour number 2. But that's a little Brian Kelly sound. Remember the weekend. One more week to go for LSU spring football. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.